Welcome to our Breaking the Silos YouTube channel. We have the best of talks about neurodiversity ready for you. Enjoy!
But however, I think you may see it coming. Yeah, you can't build software just using code. It doesn't work like that. Even if it is clean or not clean, doesn't matter. Yeah, building software is inherently harder than that because yeah, building software happens in a socio-technical system. Then ADHD has to be entered the chat. Mentoring, this is also very valuable. Provide professional leadership training to your people, especially if they have ADHD, if they have autism, and if they want to be a team lead. This is really valuable one. And eliminate or limit the politics through transparency. Transparency will help those people achieve their goals and feel better. And then coaching for innovation, entrepreneurship. This is, for example, if you want to make change happen in your company, coach those people to enable them to make change, because if they intend to make big changes, that's not going to work. Coach them to make small steps, as I said earlier, for example. If you don't have ADHD people in your team, do this anyway. There's small steps that you can make to prepare yourself to run a marathon. Doing that, very important, and this is the same thing for software development teams. Don't just pick at random from all your possibilities and then scatter them across all your long-term or mid-term goals. This is a bad way. If you can pull that off, okay, fine for me, but you will delay a dopamine hit until the end. So if you scatter it, then it will take it to the 4th week until you will finish anything. Same thing for software development teams. So yeah, what works better is focus. One piece flow, or daring to say no. Pick a project, finish that project. If it takes more than a few days, doesn't matter. It will probably take more than a few days, but after the 1st week or after a few weeks, you will finish something. After the 2nd week, again and again and again.
More relevant, I think, is that there are several talents that are wanted and that are associated with neurodivergent profiles. Everything that's up on the screen right now has been researched. This is not wishful thinking. This is not trying to make nice. This has been researched, every single one of them. The 4 profiles that are on there are ADHD, that has been brought into relation with a better entrepreneurial performance. The next 3 are related to autism, and then the last 3 are related to high sensitivity. So there's a real reason to actually look for people with a label, right? Maybe don't look for the label. These are statistical relationships, these are probabilities. There are obviously neurotypical people who are very creative, and there are just as obviously neurodivergent people who don't excel at these things. So if we're not looking at labels, how as an organization can we then support these people? It's not that complicated. There are underlying needs that we can support without having the need to know any diagnosis. I've heard it said before, the executive functions tend to be a challenge in neurodiverse people, in neurodivergent people. It's also fairly hard to train once you're getting a bit on in age, as I am. But there are a lot of things, and Dietrich showed a couple of them, where you can help yourself, where you kind of externalize the executive functions that your mind is not performing very well. But for all of these things, there is help. You can learn workarounds. And if you teach your managers in the company to deal with that, to recognize that and to support, then it doesn't matter if someone has a label or not. You're going to be able to support a lot of people.
Do I look like someone with autism? People who know autism say, of course, but people who don't know autism say, oh, hey, someone with autism can't do all this. He can't be the CEO of a company that he created. Well, there are some people that have achieved much more than I did who are also in the spectrum. Bill Gates, Isaac Newton, Steve Jobs, Henry Ford, Anthony Hopkins, Nikola Tesla, Einstein, Spielberg, Tim Burton, they are also in the spectrum, and they are also very successful people. Now, for me, writing helps me understand. So I told you that I kind of pursue a career as a writer, and every writer has a different goal with the way he writes. There are people who want to kind of address or instruct the audience, but I write to understand the world. So sometimes you think you know something, and then people ask you to explain that, and you say, well, and you realize, hey, I can't. I thought I knew everything about this, but I can't explain it. And writing helps me kind of to explain things to myself. But then I started participating in writing contests, and I'm kind of competitive, so I want to win. And I look at the jury, and I say, well, Sally, the jury is Sally. I have to kind of put myself in the mind of Sally, and I can write stories that are a perfect match with the jury. That's how I win contests. So the conclusion is, embrace your autism. It's a disadvantage. So you feel like a puzzle piece that doesn't fit in. And to function well, you need to adapt what the world expects, but that's difficult because first you need to find out what is expected, and that's not trivial. And then meeting the expectations costs tons of energies, and energy is expensive. But it's also an advantage in the sense that if there were a cure for autism, I would never take it. And I have certain skills that I think are, thanks to my autism, that probably other people don't have. And also, without my autism, I would not be me, which is kind of a paradox coming from a robot.
The point of my presentation today is that one of the reasons why autism isn't really, I wouldn't say not accepted, but like people don't really fully understand what it means, what it entails, what it encompasses. And that's because of all the misconceptions there are. So these misconceptions, they have so many consequences. It can lead to people being underdiagnosed. It can lead to people feeling left out, feeling like they don't belong. And it also impacts how society adapts and organizes around the needs of people on the spectrum. So, so the first thing you have to know is there's a big difference between cognitive or perspective empathy and affective empathy. The first one is being able to, effective empathy is being able to, if someone says, my dad died, and then the other one is able to say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That is the affective empathy part. But it's really hard for us to imagine, like, how should I adjust my behavior, and what does that person need? Like the perspective empathy, like putting yourself in someone else's shoes, that part can be really tricky for us. And it goes parallel with taking things literally sometimes. So that's one of the many problems people on the spectrum the challenges actually tend to face. And it's not because we don't have empathy. It's not like we don't want to be considerate. It's just that again, everything comes to clear communication and being clear and expectations management. Autism can only become a strength once we recognize its limitation. And I think that is one of the key messages I also want to give to you, because I believe that in order to thrive, people need to see that we're not like anyone else. I mean, just like there's gender diversity, like ethnical diversity, and so forth, there's also something like neurodiversity. But the problem is that our society, companies, capitalism is centers around the needs of neurotypicals, and so many of us feel left out. And again, I just want to say that I think what you two are doing is pretty amazing. I'm also a little bit moved even because I think it's so important that we help companies see what our strengths are and how they should approach us in order for us to thrive.
Thank you for watching our best of video. We hope to see you next time.